Viendo. I will entertain a motion for carries 5-0. Moving on. I would like to remind our community that there is an avenue for public comment at our meetings. Item B2, let Pete. Great. Moving on to item B3, board Stevenson, is there a ledge report?
Yes. We had talked at last meeting about coming up with our legislative position priorities for WASDA. And so we, after getting the different suggestions of everyone, these are the ones that color coded. Because there were themes that kept coming out. Graduation requirements and pathways, academic rigor and equity in public education, digital education, access for all, technology funding, career and technical education funding, ample funding for high poverty schools, increased amount and flexibility of funding, class size reduction funding, equitable school funding, expanding access to and equitable funding for all dual credit options, which our student rep has already spoken statewide to. So they weren't in any specific order, but graduation, digital, technology stuff, equity, and funding. Those were really the big themes that came out. So just wanted to let you all know that that's what we put in. I have not seen WASDA take all of the list and put it together yet for what their big priorities are. I don't think it's going to be that drastically different than ours for all of the other people across the state that we've ever talked to, board members and parents and everything else. So just so you know.
Thank you for putting those in for us. I appreciate it. Moving on, changing board meeting nights. I know we kind of threw that out there at the last meeting. Said we would discuss this a little bit. Don't know if anybody's got any ideas. As I thought of it, know that changing it to Tuesdays, and if it's the last Tuesday of the month, I would have a conflict because I'm at another place on the last Tuesday of every month.
And typically my second Tuesday is a work meeting that would be difficult also. So your fourth Tuesday?
Yes.
Or last
Tuesday of the month.
So even if it's a fifth,
Mm-hmm.
it's a fifth instead of a fourth. Okay.
Pete, I know you were going to see if there was any other options. Don't
Yeah,
know.
the only other option that's, if we eliminate Tuesday that had been presented was Mondays, keep it on Mondays, but at 5 p.m. And based on the last several meetings, I think we have an ability to get done by 6:30 or 7 p.m. to allow board members to participate in both meetings. So there's a possibility of just bumping that time up.
Well, I'm the only one that said before, I do not want to come at 5. It's just way too hard for me. But if it's the way it's going to be, I guess I'll figure it out.
I mean, I'm willing to listen to 5 o'clock. I mean, I close at 5, so I can close a little early.
I personally currently don't have a problem with 5. I don't know if we'd have a problem with student reps in the future. Practices, after school things. Do either of you currently have a problem with 5? But we're not going to have the same 2 student reps forever.
This year, the middle school did things a little differently, and they have their games on Monday and Wednesday nights versus Tuesday and Thursday like they have when I was in junior high a couple years ago. And so 5 o'clock would be difficult for me because I have a daughter who plays sports. So her games are on Monday nights. They typically start between 4 and 4:30. So I'm like Sharon. It would be difficult for me to pull off 5 o'clock, but if that's what we do, then that's what we do, and I'll figure it out.
I think 5 o'clock might be tight.
Is your mic on, or is it just too far away?
It's on. I think 5 o'clock might be kind of too tight of a schedule because city council meetings, they start at 6 o'clock. So either we would have to have short agendas. I know we've been doing really good under an hour, but if there's one important issue that we want to look at both meetings, it wouldn't be possible with that 5 o'clock hour.
Or if we had a workshop, that would either have to go after or another night.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't think you were done. I assumed you were done.
And I just appreciate this discussion because it was mentioned earlier in the year what we could do, and I just didn't want to see it dropped for some different possibilities. And if we can't, really come to a consensus, I'm okay with that. I'm keeping it how we currently have it. It's been working for us.
Did we discuss the option of switching from whatever Monday schedule we're on right now to the opposite Mondays, and then would that give us an opportunity to be in an off week for the city? Does that make sense, what I'm saying?
That we could go do the first and the third, because currently now
We're
it's
second and fourth?
second and fourth, and that's what they are. The only meeting they have at the first of the week is their workshop meeting, so, but it still leaves the city council meetings open, which is a,
So on the first and the third Mondays, they have city council first and third?
no, on the second and fourth.
Oh,
So they have, on the first
But-
Monday, they have a workshop. On the second and fourth, they have their regular meeting.
so
So if we went
went
to the first and third,
But that may cause a conflict with our approving our accounts payable.
Correct.
Payroll.
Oh.
That would run a conflict with that.
okay.
Oh.
I think we wait and see if circumstances change or something else comes our way, but for now, I think we need to keep it the way we are, unfortunately.
Mhm.
I like Ken. I'm glad we're open to discussing these things, and when viable, when doable, you know, we're willing to. I appreciate Lindsay and Sharon saying, hey, if that's the way it's got to be, we'll do it. But I think at this point in time, there's just too much conflict to go and make a decision right now. So I think we'll just keep it as we are for now, Pete.
Okay.
Okay. WASDA annual conference travel plans. I know I'll get there on my own. Don't know folks that need a district vehicle, perhaps, or what those plans are, or if there's some, what do you call it, carpooling amongst you guys, or let's make sure that we talk about it or it gets settled before we head down there.
Okay, you want to talk about it right now, Mike, or do you
Sure.
want us to contact Marissa?
I would, if there's two of you or three of you, or if something's been decided, let Marissa know, but, or as soon as you guys know, get a hold of her if there's going to be the need for a district vehicle or carpooling with them or
Okay.
whatever's going to happen. I know Gael and Elise, you're both signed up to go, correct?
So I need to go early for WASDA leadership. And so I'm there a day early, but I would love to, like, get a ride back with someone. Because Mike, I think, was coming for the graduation, I guess.
What's a day early? Wednesday?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there's Thursday are some of the pre-conferences.
Yeah, so student reps are supposed to be there Thursday for a few meetings, so I don't know if board members as well, but
Yeah, I think we are are we signed up Thursday, Friday, Saturday, right?
But
Okay.
what time does it, I think it starts Thursday evening unless you're doing pre-conferences on Thursday. And so I'm assuming the student rep stuff will be before that on Thursday, like Thursday afternoon.
I'll find out.
Okay.
That's the best I can offer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we need to look at the schedule and get our plans concrete. And like I said, if there is a need, let's get hold of Marissa so she can make sure that there's something available.
Okay.
Does that sound good?
Yep.
All right. November 15th, we have the agenda for our Lutakaga Elementary School visit. You'll notice it is a Tuesday.
So I'm wondering why a Tuesday and why that Tuesday? Because we have a board meeting on Monday, that on Tuesday, and then conference Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That is an intense week with board meetings. I mean, I can make it work, but I thought we were going to Mondays. It's kind of up to the school, though.
Yeah, I think the Monday switch was just a trial opportunity for Hiawatha, and we weren't certain whether or not the board wanted us to encourage Lutakaga to move with that model as well, since it was something we just tried. I know that this has been on the calendar for several months, partly due to the WASDA conference, Thanksgiving, all of those things that start to build up in November and December. So I think we went into it knowing it was going to be a busy week. So I think certainly something we could look out for next year, but they're expecting us there on Tuesday the 15th. And then I think moving forward, if we want to encourage the other schools to use the PLC model, we'll just have to make sure we communicate that with the building administrator so they could set up that schedule.
I liked having plenty of time with the staff, and not having to worry about so much of we get 15 minutes and that's it. Personally, ultimately it would be up to each campus, but if we ask the district to reach out to each of those campuses now and say, do you want to move now so that we have the plans for the rest of the year, or what do you think?
I personally loved the opportunity that everyone had to show up on Monday. From every aspect, kitchen, library, there was nobody who had to be pulled because they were with students when we were there. So I loved it.
In the agenda, there is still 25 minutes with each group, certified and classified,
Yeah.
which is, I think, what we had at Hiawatha, if I'm not mistaken. It was 25 minutes with each group.
I think the time was very similar, but what worked out, and I think I would echo what they're sharing about the Hiawatha experience, which was everyone showed up. Everyone was there. And sometimes when we offer these more flexible opportunities for folks to participate, I think we got a nice number of folks to show up.
Yeah.
And having said that, I think we'd want to engage in a conversation with both OEA and PSC about why we're moving this way, what we're doing, and how it might affect the PLC time and what it's traditionally used for. So it would just be some communication with them.
So we will be there at 8 o'clock on the 15th.
Yep.
At Hiawatha. Or Ludicaga.
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 And at Mike, at the next board meeting, I'll bring an update about my conversations with the principals who continue to be on the schedule and talk with them about the perceptions of the board. And again, perhaps in labor management, we can connect with OEA and PSC about this switch.
Very good. Appreciate that, Pete. Thank you. Moving on to item B4, student representative report. Thank you, Gael and Elise, for both being here tonight. We got a full house, and that's good.
I don't have a report.
Neither do I. Apologize. I haven't been feeling well this past
Okay.
week, so I didn't get a chance to make something for you guys.
No,
Apologize.
not a problem. Thank you for being here. Moving on to item C1. If there aren't any questions, I'll entertain a motion for the approval of required approvals.
I will make that motion.
I second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. I move we approve account payables warrant number 2. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I will have to abstain from that vote.
Motion carries 4-0 with 1 abstention. Moving on to item C3, superintendent informational items.
Thank you, Mike. I want to start with Building Bridges East. This was an opportunity that was presented to the district. And Building Bridges East is a nonprofit agency. They're committed, and their mission is to reduce youth gang involvement. And a couple of weeks ago, we had an opportunity to connect with two of their board members. One was here in the district, and then another gentleman who's working with the Lighthouse Community Center here in town, Jesse Campos. We sat down with him to talk about a funding request they have made to the state of Washington, not to the Othello School District, but they're looking for a source of funding to implement in 10 school districts in central Washington, mentoring services and specialized services for specific students. And those students would meet one of these 6 criteria: that they're active in gangs or at risk to become active, that they're active in delinquency or at risk to become delinquent, exhibiting behavior problems at school, they have been a school dropout in the past or at risk of dropping out, in need of mental health or substance abuse services, and in need of family services or services to prevent becoming homeless. So really some high risk factors for students that this group is interested in providing mentoring services in our part of the state. Building Bridges East is in reference to programs that already exist in Western Washington. So the agency is already up and running, has been doing this work for a number of years, and has seen the need in Central Washington in particular. So they would be working in the Yakima Valley, Quincy, Othello, Moses Lake, Royal City, a number of school districts in our area. We just had to demonstrate a commitment that if they are funded, we would allow them to have access to some of our students. And in listening to their presentation and hearing them talk about the kind of work that they're interested in doing, it feels like a nice fit for our students and for our community. And so I wanted you to be aware that we're moving down that road. They're certainly a long way from getting funded. They're asking for a significant amount of money to run the project for a number of years. And so the way it would look in Othello, they would have an assigned district manager, so to speak, someone who's just working with our students. And then they would assign individual mentors to these students who meet this criteria. So there's a lot of work that has to go into identifying the appropriate type of mentor. And it really is a mentor who has lived that lifestyle or had those kinds of experiences. So a very targeted group of mentors as well. We're looking forward to the partnership. We're hoping that they get funded, and if they do, the benefit that it might have for our students and for our community. So would welcome any questions from the board about sort of this initial conversation.
Are they trying to get funding through the next legislative session? Is that their intent?
They are.
Is there a specific grant that they're going after, or is it just a request to our local legislators? Do you know?
So they're requesting funding for 2 years for the Central Washington Youth Gang Project, and they are requesting $4 million. It doesn't identify a particular grant.
Okay.
Just talks about the funding that they're pushing for.
That sounds amazing.
And they've worked with Western Washington? They're the group that's worked with Western Washington? So they have
Yes.
success stories that they can,
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that's
Wow.
part of the story that they're
Yes.
sharing with the folks who
okay,
identify budget priorities in our state.
wow.
They have key supports and contacts from law enforcement in Yakima County, up in Spokane, a number of folks who are on board with the work that they're doing.
Wow.
We just happen to have a personal connection with one of their board members, used to be an employee for the Othello School District and is now on their board, but also still working in schools in a different part of the state.
Okay.
But as they identified again regionally, what communities made sense, we certainly fit into that group.
Yeah.
So we'll keep you updated on the progress, but I did want you to be aware that we did share with them that we'd be interested in that partnership if it was able to be funded. Okay. The next item on superintendent update is a strategic planning update. I shared with you several weeks ago that we had entered into a discussion with Dr. Tammy Campbell. And Dr. Campbell provides strategic planning facilitation services across the country. Her most recent superintendency experience was in Federal Way, so she's familiar with the state of Washington, really knows the ins and outs of our state. She's helped several districts in Washington. The most proximate one would be Quincy. She helped a couple of years ago. She's actually accelerated our timeline a little bit, so I'll be meeting with her when we're at WASDA on November 18th for about an hour in the morning. And I think after that, I could provide an additional update to the board, but I wanted to let you know that we've been bumped up in the queue just a little bit, and so we're going to get rolling with that process soon.
Woohoo!
Yeah. The next one is Proclamation 2114. So I was going to invite Sandra Villarreal forward to share a bit of information with you regarding that proclamation.
So the emergency proclamation 21-14 that was put into effect by Governor Inslee is expiring on October 31st. So that means that we will no longer be requiring the COVID vaccine for our staff, and then also for our volunteers. Our volunteers were expected to comply as well, so that will be expiring. Any questions? Okay.
A quick question, Sandra. If, I know we didn't have many, but we had some that did not want to comply. If they came and in asking for their job back now that that mandate has been lifted, is that
Yeah, so we only had two. One we already rehired, so
Oh, okay.
she's back working. And then the other, they would apply to any positions that were available, and they're eligible for rehire, so
Okay.
they're able to do that.
perfect? Thank you.
Well, some of the governor's proclamations are more popular than others, so I'd like to share one with you about Principal Appreciation Month. The National Association of Elementary and Secondary Principals has been working with the United States Congress to identify October as National Principals Month. And so many states across the country participate in that sort of recognition. And Governor Inslee issued a proclamation on September 28th stating such in the state of Washington. And there are a couple lines I want to share with you. One is that he identified principals and assistant principals and their significant role in leading culture, systems, and learning in our schools. Very complex work. He also recognized principals and assistant principals who have to work collaboratively with families, teachers, and district officials. If there's ever a job that feels like middle management and the executive of your own site, it's a building principal. Trying to manage what the district is asking you to do, what the board is asking you to do, what the state is asking you to do, and then what your teachers want you to do, what your staff wants you to do, what your students and families want you to do. Very complicated work. He also recognized that we have some exemplary principals and assistant principals, and that's certainly true in our school district, who have succeeded in providing high quality learning opportunities for our students. And I think Othello in particular, we've had, in the 6 years that I've been part of the central office staff, we've had significant turnover in principals. Partly because of the challenge of the work and partly because of some initiatives in local context. But I can't tell you how proud I am of the folks who are leading our schools, our principals and assistant principals. I know how hard they're working. I know the challenges that they've had the last 2 years in particular with the impacts of the pandemic and those challenges that came to a community like ours. Certainly some of the national media that plays out about what happens in schools, and today much of the conversation that I watched around schools was the national assessments that came out and said, hey, kids didn't learn as much the last 2 years. We all knew that to be the case, but it wasn't because people weren't working hard. It wasn't because people weren't putting in their best effort. They were dealing with very difficult circumstances, and I'm very proud to work alongside our building administrators. I've said it continually in meetings with them, and I'm not sure that I've said it publicly, but it is the most difficult job in a school district. I've been a teacher, I've been an assistant principal, I've been a principal, I've been a central office person, and without question, the most challenging one, the most nuanced one is a building administrator. And so I just wanted to let you know how proud I am of them, and I hope that you are proud of the folks that we have leading our schools as well.
Absolutely. On behalf of the board, if there's any, I know we have an assistant principal here with us tonight.
Two.
I'm sorry, I hadn't seen Amy back there. Thank you very much on behalf of the board. We are also very proud of the work you guys are doing. You guys, well, every employee, but you guys are the backbone of what's going on. Like Pete just mentioned, you're being pulled every which way by, Pete forgot to mention what the parents want for each one of their kids, so there's 600 kids at each site. Thank you very much on behalf of the board. It shouldn't just be a month that you guys get recognized. It should be the entire school year, because you guys work very hard the entire school year. So on behalf of the board, thank you very much as well.
And those last two items are just information.
Any questions for Pete?
Yeah, I have a question. Yeah, it is. On page 9, I just wanted to...
Of the DOP is what she's referring
Yeah,
to.
sorry. Is all the stuff under that, is it just for K-6?
On page 9 where it talks about in-school suspension and those kinds
Yeah.
of things, long-term. Yeah, so it would be
Pete, I don't think you're on.
Yeah, he is.
That would be for any school site that has those resources or services. So if a secondary school did have an in-school suspension room, this policy or procedure would cover that.
Okay.
But it certainly doesn't mean that every school is going to have that activity or option available.
Okay.
I think at Othello High School, there isn't an ISS room.
Okay, and then the part on cell phones that's also on page 9, it's just one of the little bullet points at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Is that for K-6 or is that all the schools?
Can you say
Yeah,
where
that's
on
not
page
for
9?
all schools.
It's the second bullet point on the bottom
Yep.
of page
So if you
9.
look just above that, Elise, on
Mhm.
page 7,
Yeah.
it says OSD Discipline Matrix K6.
K6,
It just
okay.
applies to that table.
Okay,
Yep.
just wanted to double
Good
check.
question.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Pete? Okay, moving on to item F1, upcoming events. November 14th, regular board meeting, the Ludwig site visit, annual conference, and then the board meeting on the 28th. Let's keep in mind that we have those on our calendar. And moving on to item F2, board self-assessment of our meeting.
We moved the students with the intent of involving and including them more in conversation. And we just wanted to try it for a couple of meetings to see, seen and hopefully heard more often. It's something to try.
Sure.
I don't know if I would say a plus or a delta yet. Plus that we're trying something different to include student voice more. Hopefully we never get to the delta with that. So we'll just say that, I guess.
Great superintendent's report tonight. A lot of good information, especially with building new partnerships for the betterment of our youth, and especially troubled youth in our community.
I think a plus is that we're all here tonight. I think it'd been a while since all 7 of us were here, so I'll take that. And we continued with our staff recognition. That's something hopefully we continue doing, because we got a lot of folks that should be recognized.
We have a few different staff in the room that aren't always here. It's always great to have new faces join us.
Agreed.
In person, I'm sure that there's many that also join not in person. That's great too. I'm going to have to trade Gael back from my chair. I do not like this one. That is a delta.
Any observations, Pete?
Oh, thanks, Mike.
All right. All right. Moving on to item G1, executive session. The board will recess into an executive session for 30 minutes to discuss the performance of a public employee and to discuss the potential real estate sale or lease. No action will be taken following the executive session. It is 7:33. We'll recess till...
Can we have 5 minutes at least?
I was going to say 3 minutes, but 5 minutes, so at 7:38 we will reconvene for our executive session. So we are now in recess. Thank you, folks.
Thank you. Yeah.